Hello everyone and welcome to our new day for training of SAS programming where we were working out to learn how one can explore data in a previous class. So exploring we is nothing but we are understanding data, what are the columns, what are the types of rows, okay, then how one can select the columns with various procedures. So we saw proc means, proc print, proc fric, and proc univariate. So we were working to explore data, we were understanding the data with respect to columns, correct? So when it comes to your data, let me check whether I've connected to my studio. So request you all, please get connected to your studio, keep your PDF book handy and get connected to your SAS files by submitting your libname statement. Okay, so this is the routine which you'll have to do it whenever you start your session, either in your for your classroom training or even for your live scenario when you're working on any project. So it's always a good habit to connect to your data files via libname. So meanwhile it comes, so we were just over or we were looking into about exploring. So we saw with proc print, if we want to, if we, a proc print is a process where it prints all the rows and columns default into your output. So when we say print, it is actually listing all rows and columns. So instead of, you do not want all columns, we select those columns with a var statement. So proc means is a procedure where it creates the summary statistics like mean, standard deviation, minimum, maximum values for numeric columns. So we had seen if you want to select a specific numeric column for analysis, we select by var statement, same as proc print. Okay, so the difference with a var statement in proc means and print is it actually with proc print, it can select all character and numeric columns, but when it comes to proc means with var statement, only numeric columns are selected. Correct. So you got introduced in Procmans with one of the statement called class, which actually you can use either numeric or character column to classify or group the reports of your Procmans, right? Then we had also seen how one can generate the report of summary statistics with your procedure called as proc univariate, and also we had seen proc frequency. So frequency is nothing but a simple code where you are generating the frequency report for your data, right? So we write proc fric data equal to, so we'll work on SAS help dot existing table which is in your permanent library, which is SAS help. So SAS help dot cars, and we select the columns with table statement with frequency. So here I can say, suppose I take type column and I can take the type that is the type of cars. And of course, let's see MSRP of its, how the frequencies varies. So frequency is nothing but we had seen that it's actually working on to select the values, how many times it appears in your data, right? So for type, there are the 6 7 types of cars, and for each type of car what is the number of count or its frequency of values occurring in your data. These are the other statistics with frequency, same goes with MSRP, correct? So apart from this we had also learned here with n levels. So what is n levels here? So these are some of the options which we had seen with frequencies. So we had also seen this option about you do not want the print for detail frequency count, correct? So with proc print, we had seen by default, it is generating the list report. So we write proc print data equal to, we use the same data set, suppose it's self.cars, and with var, maybe you select the columns like make, model, type, and in case if you want what are the number of cylinders for various type. So this is some of the list report which we are looking into. Now by default when you are submitting this proc print, only on 4 columns is generating the report. But if you see the report and if you check your log, it's telling it's reading all 428 observations from your data set, which is sashelp.cars and procprint is used. So the result which has been created, it's creating all 428 rows from the cars data of sashelp. So as per the business requirement, maybe you do not want all 428 rows into report. You want to select all those cars with a type, make, model, but all those cars who has the cylinder values which are 6. Only 6. So what we are going to do is now we are going to see how one can select the data to filter the rows or to select only those rows which is as per business requirement, or in short I can say that I'm going to write a query or write a program to communicate with SAS so that SAS can select the rows or it will subset the data. So I write the statement called is where I tell SAS where the column cylinder, okay, which has values 6. So 6 being a numeric value, it appears like this. Okay. So now when I submit this proc print, okay, just check first and foremost is as per a data analyst is always good to check your log. So see now what it's telling. There were 190 observations read from your data set, and it worked on this statement to subset your data from total rows of your original data 428. It worked to subset the data to select only those values whose condition is true for cylinders values are 6. So out of 428, only 190 rows are true, which has the values for cylinder 6. See? All these cars. But among them, I want to check from the type that I want to check only for sedan cars. Okay. So what I can do is in a single where statement, I can always join another query or another subsetting criteria by using an keyword called as and. Okay, so it's an operator. So see, these are some of the operators which is telling you can write. So and means I'm going to combine another condition where SAS needs to work on this condition also to subset your data. So I write and the column type value contains the value called as sedan. Okay, now check this. Okay, now check this. I'm writing sedan and I'm subsetting or I'm submitting. Sorry, I did not select P, but it's okay. It's giving me an error because I did not select P while submitting. So it's telling me it's an error. So what it's telling me here, error variable sedan is not in your file sashelp.cars. Now what might be happening here? Can anyone simply tell me? So if I check my data for cars,
Character variable in quotation marks.
okay, great. So at the same time, let's first check the value for sedan. Okay, it's this way only. So I go back into my program. One sec. So sedan being a character type of value, that means what? This column type which we have in your original data is actually a character column. See at the left hand side, you find this type column is character. See, its icon is A, that means it's character. When I click this and I check its property in detail at the bottom, I find its type is character. So make a note. So whenever we are working to subset the data on character type of columns, okay, you have to see to it that the values are into quotation. Okay, and of course these values are from the data, it's case sensitive. If I write this sedan in this form, okay, upcase, and I try to execute, now check, I'm putting it into quotes, okay, but still what it is telling me now, there were no observations selected. Why? Though you are telling the criteria to subset the data on cylinder value is 6, and type value is sedan, but it's trying to look out the both the conditions whether both are true. That it's trying to check for all the cylinder value 6 and type value as sedan, which is in uppercase. But when you see your original table, your sedan is not in uppercase. Okay, these are data values. So you have to be very careful when you're subsetting data with the data values or character type of data values, how they are saved. So go back to your code and correct this. It has to be sedan in this form. Right now, let's execute. So AND is an operator where we are forcing SAS to work on both the conditions. So now it's telling both the conditions are true. So out of 428 rows, 120 rows are been selected where it is subsetting the data on both the conditions. So AND works on both the conditions. All right. So there is another operator which you can use to add your condition. So the another statement which you can or operator which you can add your conditions is called as OR. Okay, so I'll just comment this and now just check. I'm giving the operator name as OR. So what OR does is OR means either of it is true. With AND what we are telling is both the conditions are matching, it will select the row. But when it comes to OR, we are asking SAS to select the rows where cylinder is 6 or sedan is or type is sedan. So it will check wherever there is cylinder 6, it will select the value. Wherever the type is sedan, it will select the value. Okay. Now before moving with this condition, the earlier result which we saw, it's giving us this observation. Now why it's giving us this observation? Any idea? Why it's not giving 1, 2, 3, 4?
Because we selected cylinder 6 and type sedan.
So what it's trying to tell is observation 4 is actually the original observation number 4 from your data set. So in the condition as we had given that type was sedan and cylinder is 6. So if you check in your original table, it will select all those rows where type is sedan and cylinder is 6. See? So this is the original row from your data where both the conditions were true. So hence when we are writing a where statement, it will select the rows from your data which matches the condition.
Both condition, yeah.
Getting it? So this is the original observation numbers where the condition is true. Getting it, everyone? That is why it's not coming in serial order, but it's selecting all the rows where the conditions are true. Fine, everyone?
Yes.
Great.
Ashwini, can we
Yes.
use the OR condition twice in the wait statement, like type it's sedan?
One sec, we will do it, but one sec, I'll show you. So let's work with this condition now. I'm using where cylinder is 6 or type is sedan. Now look into your log. It's telling 328 observations were selected from or read from this data set where these conditions are been worked out to subset your data. So it's telling either of the condition is true. So when you check the result, so first row, your cylinder is true for 6 value, but the type is sedan. Are you getting it the difference now with and or? Either of the condition.
Yes.
So here it's telling either of sedan is true or cylinder is true. But sedan is coming for type and cylinder is 4, irrespective whether cylinder is 6, it's coming 4 because it's working with one of the condition. That is why the number of rows it's telling is 332. Earlier when we were using your and operator, it was selecting 190 observations. Are you getting the difference with or and?
Yes.
Okay. So who was asking me the question of adding another or?
It's me, Ashwini.
Padma?
Yeah.
Okay. So we were writing or, you want this or again, correct? Another
Yeah.
or. Now
Yeah.
I can make use of suppose the make column. So what is the make column? Make is or, no, instead of make. Okay, let's see make. Okay. So I'll select make column is the value for suppose Audi. Okay.
Okay.
So another condition, Audi, Acura, BMW and all those, fine. So this is make model. So let's execute. So it will again try to subset the data with either of the condition. So I've selected frequency also, that's why it's coming. So let's check your log. Now it's telling 336 observations where it worked with all three conditions. So when we check the result, so it will again work with either or. So this first is true for cylinders. Second is true for sedan. So this is why it's coming sedan. So it's coming here 6 because maybe we have values where sedan and 6 is true. Okay. Then see here. Here it's sports, but here cylinder is 6. Now look at here. Either of it. So either Audi, either sedan, either 6. But any one is true, it is selecting. All right.
Yeah.
Same goes. It's Audi, but its type is your sports. See, cylinder is 6. But which condition is true for Audi? Because or. Getting it? That's what it's telling. Another condition or make value is Audi. All right, everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So let's move ahead with your slides about filtering rows. So how rows have been selected to subset your data. So filtering rows with your where statement. So within your prop step, you can also select specific rows with specific criteria as per your business requirement with the help of your where statement. It's a statement. It begins with a keyword, ends with a semicolon, where along with its expression. That is what it's here. We had written it. Where is a statement. It begins with a keyword, ends with a semicolon. This later is all the expressions. Okay, so this is one expression. This one expression is work out with another expression where you can use a joining operator either and or, which you can work out to subset the data with multiple conditions. Okay, then we'll see it. If expression is true, it will include the row in your result, which we had already experienced. So what your expression could be, or expressions you write it as column, operator, value. So looking in our condition, we wrote column, equal to is a operator and a value. Now this is multiple condition. Don't look into it now. Just look at the syntax. If I give the semicolon here, look into syntax here. So it's telling where and the expression. So expression means we are telling where cylinder is a column. This is the operator, or this is the equal sign which is telling you how you are selecting the values, and this is the value. So that's what it's telling, operator. So this operator could be equal to sign, less than, greater than sign, greater than equal to, less than equal to, not equal to. Okay, GT, either you write this sign or you write GT, both is equivalent. Okay, so in case if I write this condition, I want to select all the values where the cylinders are greater than equal to 6. Okay, now pay attention. When I write greater than equal to 6, that means select all the cars whose cylinder is 6 or greater than 6. So it's telling 6, 8. So these are the rows. So when I check my log, it's telling 228 rows were selected with this criteria. See, when I wrote this condition, it's telling GE, and GE is equivalent to this mnemonic symbol greater than equal to. Getting it? GE greater than equal to. All right, everyone? Yes?
Yes, Ashwin.
Great.
Yes, Ashwini.
So these are some of the examples. Type equal to, either you write equal to sign or this symbol. Less than equal to, either you write LE. So see, MSRP, the value which you are selecting is less than equal to 30,000. Type is equal to SUV. Now 30,000 is not given into quotation, but this type value is given into quotes, either this, and look at the value, it's case sensitive. It's because this is a character type of value. You have to preserve its case and character values are always subsetted by using this quotation. For numeric, there is no requirement of quotation marks. All right. So what values? So this is what it's telling. Values could be character values, which are case sensitive and must be enclosed in quotation marks, either double or single. Either it could be a character numeric value. So numeric value, simple numbers. All right. So that's what it was explaining. Yes. So when it comes to your date values, how one can subset your date. So we know in SAS, it saves the dates in the form of number of days. So how you will subset the data where it is number of days. So there is one example you remember. We have a data with one of our library called class, correct? So first let's check this. Do we have anything with SAS help related to class? Okay. So here we have class data. It is not having birth date. So we have it in our library, which is PG1. So let's move into PG1. So we have class birth dates. Okay. So this class birth date data, you know very well. This is the column birth date, which is in the form of number of days. So you cannot interpret this, correct, at this point. So what we are going to do it, we had also got introduced to it yesterday. One can interpret the data by formatting. So just I write proc print data equal to pg1 dot class birth date table var, leave it as it is. I'll just format the column for your birth date. I apply a format, suppose date 9 dot. So when I say this date 9 dot is a type of format where it appears with 2 digits of date, 3 letters of the month and 4 digits of your year. Total weight is 9. So how it appears? Let's check. So, okay, one sec. It's birth date. Yes, we have a warning. So what is the warning? Birth date column. So I have a spell check for birth date. Fine. Okay. See, 2 digits of day, 3 letters of my month, and 4 digits of my year. Total date is length or width is 9. So this form of date is called as date 9 dot. Okay. So this is my result. So in case if I want to select all the birth dates where the students are having a birth date greater than 31st December 2004. Okay. So how do I ask SAS to subset the data for students with birth dates after 31st December 2004? So if I write my where criteria, where I am asking to subset the data on birth dates, and in case if I write the birth date is greater than equal to, suppose I write it in this way, 31st December 2004. Okay, in case if I write this way to subset my data, I execute it. Do you think it will work? So
No.
it's giving an error. So it's not understanding this. So it's telling syntax error while parsing your where clause. So it's telling syntax error. Either you might have missed some of the symbols. You can check whatever you might have missed, but it's a syntax error and it is ignored and your proc print procedure has been stopped. So in case if you are trying to select the rows and asking SAS to select the data of this calendar date, SAS will not understand this calendar date. Though you are applying this format to represent your date in this form, but SAS will not understand. Why? Because originally, if you have observed this birth date data, your original dates are in the form of number of days. Understood, everyone?
Yes.
So how you will ask SAS to select the dates? So we'll keep this date format as it is. We'll put it
No.
into quotes and will give a D, which is a date constant instruction telling that this calendar date which you have given in this form, okay, date 9 dot form, you put it into quotes and you apply this D. So this D is called as date constant, where it will convert your calendar date into number of days, and then SAS will able to select the rows. Getting it? So now when I submit this, see, I'm getting so many students. How many students they are? So if I check my log, out of 19 students, there are 10 students whose date is greater than equal to 1st December 2004. Okay, so this is what it's telling. These are 10 students whose birth dates is greater than equal to 1st December 2004. Got it? So how we interpret the date to tell SAS? We put the date as a date 9 dot format date, which is 2 digits day, 3 letters of your month. So this is not at all case sensitive. 4 digits of your year. You put it into quotes and you give this D. So this D indicates that this type of your calendar date, SAS will convert it into number of days, and in backend it will select the dates in the number of days which has converted with D constant. Understood, everyone?
Yeah.
Yes, Ashwin, it's fine.
So see, it's telling DD 3 digits or 3 letters of your month and 4 letters or 4 digits of your year. You put it into quotes, you write D. So this is what it's telling. You can use this 4 digits to 2 digits of year also. This is also fine. Okay, so it's telling use a SAS date constant when you want to evaluate a SAS date value in an expression. So D is the SAS date constant which converts your calendar date into SAS date, that is in the form of number of days. So this is where you can join two operators, two conditions with an operator and or. So and means both the conditions are true, or will come either of the condition is true. All right. Yes. So you can
Yes.
also select multiple values in a same thing. I'll come to this. Now, for example, I write a proc print data equal to SAS help dot cars where I say SAS to select the values. Now I don't want only the type value as suppose sedan. I want type values to be selected as SUV, sedan, and suppose it's truck. Okay. So these are multiple values. So in case I write where type is equal to, I give the value I want as sedan. Okay. Because it's a character value, I may also write I want to see SUV, and I want to see the values which I said was truck. Do you think this will work for type value?
No.
Why? Any idea?
It should individually it should be in quotation mark.
Okay, great. Good observation. Suppose I give this into quotation. Okay, before working on this giving quotation, let's execute and check. So it's giving us no observation. So it's not an error, it's not a warning, but it's telling no observation. Why? Because you are asking SAS to select the values for type. When we write a operator equal to, okay, make a note, people note it down. Whenever we write a operator equal to select a value, it's always to select only single value, but you have multiple values. So you cannot select multiple values with equator or equal to sign. Are you getting it? Understood? Equal to sign always works to select only single value. Are you all with me?
Yes.
Do not work on this. I'll give you time to revise on this. Okay. Anamika, Padma, everyone, Vikram. I hope you people are able to follow what we are learning.
Yes, Ashwini.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
And I just have a question, Ashwini. So when we are using equal to, can we use and class? We can use and class, right? Where
Yes,
type
yes,
is.
yes. So as you are telling, either we can also write it in this way. This is what you are telling, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, you can use this. Like this, correct? This is how you was telling. So you submit it. So when you write and, okay, again, it will not select the rows. Why? Because you're telling type sedan and SUV and truck. So it's telling all the values. It won't come with and. So same thing, if you want, you can change this and to or. Then it will select the values. Are you getting it now? So you're telling either of these values, wherever the value for type is sedan, for type is SUV, for type is truck, then only it's selecting the value. See, type SUV, sedan, sedan. Okay. So or, let me check what log is telling. No, it's not working. It's not working. It's giving all the rows. So do we have truck?
no, because we didn't selected the type. Last one, type
Last
equal.
one we did not. See here. There is no type. Absolutely correct. We did not write type column. Now let's check. I select the columns so that we do not get all the columns. So let's first check your rows. So it's telling 346 rows were selected. So see what it's telling are interpreting in log where type in. So when you write or operator, it's equivalent to this. And that is what I was going to tell you, that instead of writing in this way, we can always write a where criteria where I can ask, you have multiple values to be subsetting your data. You give the values with an in operator. Either you separate the values with space or with comma, this way. Okay, this way. Either this values you can select. I'm giving you all the type of criteria. So either you separate this with comma or with space. This both is equivalent, and this both equivalent is to this. So you're telling SAS to select the values either or the values are true. So in means select all the values from type among this in. In means among the list of values. So this is equivalent to this or statement, and this is also equivalent to this in. So that is why when I use this or in SAS, it's actually working with this in operator. Got it now, everyone?
Yes, Ashwini.
Yes,
So
Ashwini.
I execute this proc print with in operator. So let's check whether it's giving the same result as with or with 346 rows. See, understood?
Yes.
Okay. So this was all about your in operator. So either you write in operator to select multiple values among the list for the column or not in the list. Not in the list means if you provide certain list which is not true, so it will select all which is not in the list. Okay. So this is where it was telling or operator, either write in with multiple values separated by comma or space. So all three statements have the same result. Fine. And you have this demo. So open this demonstration P103D02 lesson 30 demo 2. So come to your servers, come to your demos folder, come to your lesson 3 and it's demo 2. So see, it's giving here, you have certain expressions. So how this expressions to be used. So when it comes to date, how to use, they have given here, and they have given one demo. and read this second part and accordingly work in this proc print. Go ahead and read this and work on your proc print. It's lesson 3 D02 from your demo section. Go ahead.
Ashwini,
Yes.
the format for the date is January 1st, 20.
See, like this on the screen. I've written it. You have to write it in this
Okay.
form. So they have given the individual conditions. Okay. So I'm giving you all these individual conditions and I'm just giving you the comment. So that once you execute single line, you comment the earlier line, you write the second line. Okay.
Yeah, and what is the format we use for that?
For what?
Is it date 9?
See, here it is. Yeah, this is date 9.
Okay.
So it's 2 digits day, 3 letters of your month, and 4 digits of your year. So it's date
Okay.
9 dot. Okay.
Okay.
Done, Ashwini.
Okay. Others, have you done? So write this statement separately, comment this out and include your new statement. Monica is done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Padma.
I completed.
Okay. Anamika, Vikram. So we don't have Jagruti yet.
We also can write that mean pressure is missing, right?
Yeah.
ME dot.
So that's what I'm explaining now. Pay attention.
Okay.
Among
Yes.
your demonstration, the individual statements you have written all like this, you have executed with all individual statement. But when you submitted this earlier proc print, you might have observed as per your fourth before or your third point or before your fourth point from the demo, it's telling we have selected the rows from the data where maximum pressure mileage per hour is 156 greater than equal to, or minimum pressure is less than 920. So when you check the output, so look at this pressure. Okay, so either of it is true. But here you find it's say taking for minimum pressure some missing values. Okay, so there are some missing values where your condition was either minimum pressure is less than equal to 920 or max wind mileage per hour is greater than 156. So either of the condition is true, but somewhere you find either of the condition is true, all fine, but there are minimum pressures where the values are less than or it is missing values. So total we had 394 rows, but that is what it was telling. In your final where statement, are missing values in your minimum pressure? Do you see?
Yeah.
Right? Then how you can overcome this? So for that to exclude, you write, I give this telling where maximum wind mile per hour is greater than equal to 156 or minimum pressure is not equal to. So this NE is not equal to, because it's a numeric value, it's missing with period. So when I execute this part of my program, now earlier it was giving 394 or 92 some rows. Now so it's taking a bit of time to show the result. That means we have more number of rows. So see, it's taking time to display the rows also. So see, now it's coming. Do you see? It's not selecting any missing values for minimum pressure. So it's working with all the conditions which you have given. So you have provided either it is this or minimum pressure not equal to. See, the condition which we had written was any, that is not equal to. So not equal to is actually like this, which it is representing or working in the backend. Getting it? So you see the number of rows now, 2922. So it's working with either of the condition. So this is the condition where the minimum pressure for this first result is not equal to missing. Hence it's selected irrespective whether maximum wind mile per hour value is greater than or equal to 156. So irrespective of all, it's selecting this. Getting it now, everyone? So how do you overcome this part? By using not equal to missing. Understood? People, everyone.
Ma'am, I'm getting 29 observations in this,
What?
in first question.
Which one you're talking about? This where condition?
Yeah, only this one.
It's okay.
Uh, I'm not giving the minimum pressure condition.
You're which one you're talking? I'm using or in
First
both of
question.
this.
I'm not talking about fourth one. I'm for first one.
So first one is only single observation
Yeah.
or single
Yeah.
column. That's what you're telling, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any error message or anything
No,
in
no.
your, let me check. So where maximum wind mile per average here is greater than some value. Yes, it's 29.
Yeah.
So because it's true for this condition, right?
Yes.
So it will work only on this. I hope this last one is clear to everyone.
Yes, yes, Ashwini.
Not equal to.
Yes,
Yeah.
Great.
means not missing value. All
Great.
the
Right. Now pay attention. I want to show you something now. If you have understood this, now we have written multiple where statement in a single proc print. Okay. Now pay attention, everyone. I have these two conditions. I want the result where maximum wind mile per hour is greater than equal to 156, as well as I want to see the values where basin is WP. Okay, West Pacific. And I write two where statements. Okay, I have two where statements. I have two conditions. I'm including two where statements. Do you think this will work?
Yes, Ashwini. So first it will execute the first condition and then it will.
Okay, very good. Let's execute and check it's working. So where we had said basin is VP and max wind mile should be greater than 156. Is it coming? VP is coming for basin. WP, sorry. But why max wind mile per is not coming greater than 156? So your result is incorrect. So don't believe this result. It's always we have a log which gives or shows you what is working at the back end. So being an analyst, always have a habit to first look into log, try to understand what log is telling, then interpret your result. So see what is happening. See, this was your proc print. Your where statement was this, another where, and it's telling a note where
So
clause
it
has
is
been
replacing.
replaced.
Okay.
Yes.
This
So
so
what
that
is
one is
happening?
replacing.
So what it's doing? See, look at this.
It's overwrite the sentence.
What it is doing.
They
The
replaced row.
second where condition has replaced the first one.
Yeah, absolutely correct. So whenever you write multiple where statements to subset your data on different criteria, of course, SAS reads the code from top to bottom, from left to right. Okay, so from this step, the step is read from top to bottom and every statement from left to right. So when it is reading it sequentially, when it encounters this statement of where, it is subsetting your data, but immediately it encounters another where. So now SAS is getting confused. You have this where to subset, you have this where to subset. So as per its criteria or as per its rule, the first where already subsetted your data, there is another where. So what it will do, it will again work on this where it will replace the earlier subsetted rows. Hence the most recently used where subsetting criteria was seen as a result into your output. Getting it? So of course it did work with your earlier where you have asked to subset the data or max wind mile per hour is greater than 156. But immediately there is another where. So it worked on the recent where, and that's why it gave you the note in log telling your where was replaced. Are you getting it? So the current rows which was getting subsetted is on the very recent where statement. Understood now?
Yes.
So
Yes,
that's why it is required, or it is been, we have already learned that whenever you have multiple conditions to be subsetting in your data, you will not use multiple where statement. But if you want the data to be subsetted, what you
you
can
can
do is,
use or.
yes, either you can join the criterias by making use of an operators. That's what we had learned in one of our demo. So we use operators, or and or whatever. Getting it now, everyone? We use
Yes,
Yes,
two
Ashwini.
Ashwini.
operators called as
Yeah.
and or. So in
Or.
this criteria also, what we can do is, I'll give you this example here where we have this column is greater than equal to 156, and you can write basin is equal to, you can write west specific. Okay, now check. Both the criterias you want to work, so you can use and operator, or if you want two criterias, either of it you write or. Now why it's giving no observations? Because in our data we may not have the rows which are true for this condition. That's why it's telling no observation. So there is no rows where maximum wind mile per hour is 56 and the basin is west Pacific. But if you want this to be work out, either you can use or operator, because and means to work with both the criterias. Understood, everyone? Yes.
Yes, Ashwini. Yes.
So
Yes.
both the criterias are not true. So instead of and, you're forcing it to select both the criterias. Make use of or operator, that is either of the rows are or either of the condition is true. So see, now it's able to subset your data and it's giving you the rows. So either VP or this. So it's telling VP is true. So WP, sorry. Now anywhere where it is greater than 156 in your maximum mileage per hour value, it may come or it may not come depending on your data value. It's okay, but either of the conditions, so it's telling specific is WP. Understood now, people? With or it was not selecting with and, but it was selecting with or. All right, because there is no data in your table which tells both the conditions are true. So you may not have the maximum wind greater than 156 in the basin area of West Pacific. Understood? You will get a question in your interview about multiple where criteria, whether it works, not works, what would be the message in log. Okay, so this is what the question may be. What if I write multiple where statement to subset my rows? So your answer should be, it will work on the most recent where statement. Getting it, everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Of course, it works with your earlier where, but because it works sequentially, your second where will also be read. Fine? Any doubts, any questions? Okay. Now I would like to give you one more example of this where criteria. What if I want to keep this multiple statements of where, but I want both the statements also to be worked out. So instead of this basin, we know there is no value. No. And we saw it's not giving the value because both the conditions are true. South specific. Let's check we have South specific. Okay. So what we can do is we can write a keyword same as. Okay. So what is this telling? Run. We have a keyword called same as where or where same as. One sec. Let me check. It's an error. There is a keyword called same as where it works when you have multiple where statements. So it's telling that it should keep your first criteria along with your first criteria. It should also work with your second criteria. So it augments your second where. So it's called as same as, or it is same where. I think I forgot that keyword, but it's something like this. But it's not starting with something like this. Okay, same as. Fine, we can work out later, but this is how it is. So how it says, I'll show you once I come to know that. Okay, so this was all about your filtering your rows. Is missing, is not missing is a keyword. One second, I'll just check with that also. So what you can do is, people, within this demo, try out what we have learned currently. Not in and multiple where. Okay, this multiple where. Try this. Try this both. Go ahead and work out. absolutely. Yes, so pay attention everyone. So as I was trying same as, but yeah, Padma rightly said me, it's same and. So what it's telling, though you can keep multiple where statements, okay? So we know that when we write multiple where, it will replace your first where criteria with the most recent where, and it will give you the result only with the recent where, correct? But in case if you want to keep both the where statements, you can use this same and. So what does this mean is that along with your earlier where statement, this where should not replace your earlier, but it should keep the earlier where criteria, and it should also work with your recent where criteria. And when you check your log, you get this message, your where clause has been augmented. Augmented means along with your first criteria, it is also working with your second criteria. And this works like this. Got it? Thank you, Padma. Understood,
I
people?
think it was Nilima, Ashwini.
It was Nilima. Okay. So sorry. Thank you. As I said, you sometimes I get the voice similar. So audio effect is not clear, maybe. Thank you, Nilima. Yeah. So it's same and. So this is how it's showing us. Okay. I hope you people have understood this same and. You can keep multiple where it works like this. That means it will keep your earlier where also, and it will work with your current where condition also. Fine, everyone.
Yes, Ashwini.
Yes,
With
Ashwini.
selecting, there is one observation which is true for both the condition, where basin is SP and wind mile per hour is 156. So this result is at the observation 3116th observation, where basin is SP and maximum wind mile per hour is greater than 156. Yes, so you can always work out with multiple where with this not equal to and try this same end. Go ahead. Okay. So along with your other operators like and or, you can also use some special operators like is missing, is not missing. So either if you want to select a missing value, you write a keyword is missing, or if you do not want to select any missing values, you write is not missing. So in your current example where we were saying not in equal to missing, here you can also write the same thing where you can replace this by writing a keyword is not missing. Okay, so this is what it's telling, is not missing. So where it works the same. Yes, we have too many rows, so it takes time to return. See, same result, correct? So when you check your log, so it's telling either you are selecting this value or pressure is not null. So either you write is not missing or is not null. So it will work on that. All right, people, getting this keyword, understanding it.
Yes, Ashwini.
Okay. So this operators works for both character and numeric missing value. So instead of writing this, if you are not aware whether this column is numeric or character, and you write is missing, is not missing for numeric as period, you can always write a keyword either if you are aware or not aware whether the column is character or numeric. All right. Moving ahead, we have another special operators. Okay, now operator, one of them we had seen and or. So and means you are actually, now look at here, you are actually subsetting the data for age between the two values. So you write the keyword between and. So you are telling SAS to select all the ages between the range of age start end and the range end or end range. So you use a keyword between and. So it includes rows with values between and including the endpoints that you specify. So for character values, the range is based on the alphabet, and if you are giving a character column value, the value should be given into quotations. All right. So you can use between and also. So in our case, if we have this data, now we have this cars, where we have cars. Now look into here. Suppose we are working on the cars data. Okay. So you want any of the data values. Okay. Where you may select the values between, suppose, SUV and truck. Okay. So in case I just write this program here. Proc print data equal to SAS help dot cars. Let's check this where statement same so that the columns are not coming all the columns, where I write type between the column you say you want SUV and another value you give is suppose truck. Let's check its alphabet. Okay, S and T. Let's check whether it's working. It's an alarm warning. So we have SUV, truck, SUV, truck, sedan alphabetically. So let's check what log is telling. I have a spell check for between, but because it's a warning, it's a keyword, it's telling it's misspelled, but it's reading as between. So there is no error. So see how it's telling? It's actually working like this. That means it's selecting all the values from the range greater than equal to SUV and type less than equal to truck alphabetically, maybe between the characters. Getting it now, everyone?
Yes,
Yes.
Ashwini. Yes.
Yes.
So you should always check what your, see what it's telling between and. You should always have a habit to read your log. It interprets many things you can understand, which you cannot interpret by looking into your result. So like this, you can also write a program where you are working with numeric values, where okay, so this is numeric, so no need of putting into quotes. So selecting the values between the range of having cylinders between 4 to 6. So see, 4 to 6. Fine. So check your log. So there are 333 observations, which is actually subsetting the data in this form. Cylinders greater than equal to 4 and cylinders between less than equal to 6. So between 4 and 6. So that's what the statement was. Include rows with values between and including the endpoints that you specified. So this is the start point, end point. So between the both the ranges, it's selecting the values. Okay, so this is between and. So you have another special operator called as like. So what is this like operator is? It works great with a character type of value where you provide pattern of values. Okay, so for example, it's telling you're writing where the column city is from your data. It's just an example. Okay, within the column city, select all the values which has new as a 3-letter word, and after new all n number of characters. So this is a special sign with percent which indicates select all the characters where all the values for city it is having starting with NEW and post NEW n number of characters, and it is with the operator like. So it's like a pattern which starts with NEV, that is new, and post new n number of characters. So either it has space, hyphen, it's a value. Okay, you may have values. So this is what it's selecting, all the values which has starting keyword starting with letter N, which is uppercase. Next is small case, irrespective of space or no space. It's selecting all the values which has the pattern which is like NEW. Getting it now, everyone?
Yes, Ashwini.
Okay, so percent indicates n number of characters, whereas you can also provide one single character which you are not knowing by giving underscore, and rest all n number of characters post this with a space. So it will select all the city values which have Santa space and C Carla, Santa space Carla, but you are not aware after T it's A or O, but because you have given one hyphen, which is a one blank value or a blank one character post T. So it's a wild card for a single character. So it selects all those which matches this pattern with like operator. Understood? See, Santa space Carla, Santa space Cruz, Santo space Domingo, and Santo space Thomas. Because you have provided this pattern like this, that after T, any character, post that you have a space, and after space n number of characters. So it's selecting all that which is as per or like this pattern. Look at this slide carefully. Understood?
Yes,
Yes,
Ashwini.
Ashwini.
Great. Okay, now come to this activity. It's telling open activity A02 for lesson 3. Uncomment each where statement one at a time and run the step to observe the rows that are included in result. Comment all previous where statement, add new where statement to print storms that begin with Z. How many storms are included in the result? Activity A02 from lesson number 3. So coming to your PG1, come to your activities folder, lesson 3, activity A03 or A02. Fine. So this is fine. We have all done. Change your second where statement to where also and run the. Yes, it should be. See, come to this activity A02. So it wasn't where and or it's called as where also. Just work on this activity and understand. It is not where and, or you can also use where also as we have same and. Okay. So it's telling change your second where statement to where also and rerun. Yes, this is also one way where you can augment your first where along with your second where statement where you have multiple wheres. Yes, it's working. So it works as if it's like this. All the three criteria with where and where also. Okay, so in your interviews, you can also answer this another option where also. Okay, look into this activity carefully. A02, which is current code. If you have done with this activity, we'll come to activity A03, which is from the current slide. Okay, so this was from your current slide. So try all this where and work with your last where, which is as per their requirement. Comment all where statements, where statement prints Tom that begin with Z. So it's with the storm name. So let's first check with your data set storm. It's storm summary. So when you have this table storm summary, it's all about the storm information, that which season the storm occurred, what is the name of the storm, in which area or basin it had occurred, type of storm it is, then about its demographic. Okay. So the name where it's starting with Z. Okay. Do we have anything of that sort? It should be, maybe. That's why they're asking us to work on. Add a new where statement to print storms that begin with Z. Yes. So this is all. How many rows it's coming? 24 rows. So what it is, I wrote it this way. See this part. This is all about. Go ahead, work on this. Done with the current activity? I would like to show you one more thing with this activity with like, where you have provided this way. Okay. In case I give a pattern of this sort, something of, let me first check the name. You have certain names like this. Okay. If you want any name which is ending with E, okay, ending with E, fine. So how you'll do it? How you'll do that? Ending with E.
%E.
Yes,
Percent, yes.
absolutely. So when I write E is in, now check out. If I write small case E, the values are in uppercase, just check out. Okay. I'm just trying to tell you. If I write in this way. So it's telling no observations. Why? Because the pattern which you are trying, that any name which ends with E is in small case. We do not have any values in small case. That's what it's telling. It's an, either it's treating it as macro. Now what macro is will come to later. But at this point it's telling that there is no value which is ending with small case E. Same thing I gave it in uppercase. So these are the values. That it's taking 50 rows which is ending with the word or letter E for your name. Fine. In case if you want anything where you have the value in which I give the pattern, anything which starts with E, one letter. Okay, now the results, do we have any with two values here? No, but fine, one letter, you know how it works. Okay, anything like this. Okay, let's see. So what does this pattern tell? Anything which is before E and after E. So this is how it's telling. Anything before E, after E, one underscore. So anything before E and after E is one underscore. Understood, everyone? So one underscore means it's one letter. Either it's blank or you have a letter. Understood?
Yes.
Okay. So anything before E
I
and
want
post.
more than one letter after E.
So it's more than one letter after E. Put it.
If I want like then a
Put it
character
like this.
percent, yes. Okay.
Okay. So this will select anything before E, after E, and number of characters. So this is all before E, after E, before E, after E. So before E, after E.
Yeah.
Okay. All this. So before E, after E. See this. Fine.
Yes.
All right. So this was your like operator. Okay. So we saw this activity. So how did you write? Anything which ends with, or it is having Z, starting with Z and ending with n number of characters. Okay. So this was what we had seen with 50 observations. Yes. Now this part is something where you can include a macro. But is it a huge part? Okay. So now pay attention. Now what it is like, if you remember, I'm writing this program where we have proc print done earlier with my code for cars data, where I was writing this type. Okay. I'm using it instead of leave this as it is. Now just pay attention. I'm having this proc print where I'm generating the report for all the data for columns, make, model, type, cylinder, and type value is SUV. So you know it will select the value for SUV for type. But what if I want another program? The same program is there and I want the type to be as suppose truck. So what ideally you would do is you will come to this program and you manually change this value. Correct? Agreed? Yes, people?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
but this was with proc print, but what if I'm generating a report for means? Okay, so this is mean. Suppose I'm not using this var, but I'm using where type is truck. So in every procedures, I'm doing the same thing. Now it's for truck, but next I want it for wagon. Wagon is also one of the car type in my data. So again, I have to do the changes in my program. Are you getting it? So this is
Yes.
going to become a tedious task in a long run when you're working on a huge table. So it's not feasible for you to look up the value and do the changes manually. So in that case, what we can do is we can make use of a macro language. So macro language is nothing but it's a symbolic representation of your value. So how you represent this value? So let's subset this value or substitute this value by using a macro language. So how to create a macro variable, understand the word variable, where this value will give a symbol for that. So for it, I write a statement called %let. Okay, I give the column or I give the variable name as types, and I give a specific value for it. Suppose I write it as SUV. It is case sensitive as per your value. I write it as it is. Fine. So when I want to generate a report where I'm generating a report for proc print and proc means, you do manually changes at wagon and this wagon by typing SUV. But instead of typing SUV, I will represent its value by this variable, which is my macro variable type. And how do I write it here? I represent with an ampersand and I give the name as it is. So same thing I write here, ampersand types. Okay, now pay attention. I'm submitting this and executing it. So I'm getting proc means for my type. Okay, so let me check. It's giving me a warning. SUV, 0 rows for proc print. Okay, my typo error for type. CO. Okay, fine. Check it out. See, all my type is SUV for proc print. See, and this is for SUV values for all numeric values for its mean value. All right, people, everyone. So now I want to generate a report where I want a report for wagon. So how many changes I'll do in my program now?
3.
One changes.
One changes,
Like
one.
type equal to
Yes.
wagon.
So here I will just write wagon. So what this will do, so wherever this is ampersand type, ampersand represents it's a macro variable. Ampersand means and sign. Okay, we call it in a programming language and sign and ampersand. Fine. So this ampersand represents it's a macro variable, and types means the value which you have provided is wagon. So when I move ahead and I check with this proc print, so I'm not doing any changes in proc print for where type is wagon. I'm simply changing the one value in my ampersand type, and look at your where clause, it's taking its wagon. So it's a symbolic substitution for your value. So what is this symbol? Ampersand types, you have created types value was wagon. So it should take the wagon value wherever you write ampersand type. Hence it is resolving wagon. Understood, everyone?
Yes,
Ashwini.
Ashwini.
So this is called as a macro variable. So we'll see this macro variable in detail when we work into macro language, but this is with macros to make your symbolic substitution easy. But what if now I want a numeric value where I'm writing another macro variable I'm creating, suppose type. So it's a data where I want to select MSRP. Let I keep the same name, okay? Is equal to, I give certain value. Fine. So do we have anything of that sort? No, let's work with cylinders only. Okay, this is the name and I say cylinder value default. I'm giving some value. Suppose it's 4. And I write here and cylinders. It's a numeric value. I simply write ampersand. Okay. It's the
You
same
write the
name.
percentage.
Sorry. It should be ampersand. Thank you, Monica. Execute this.
And it should be in quotes, right, Ashwini?
No, because original value is numeric, right?
Oh, okay. Okay.
So you're not, that's why I gave you this example. Why I'm not writing quotation? It's because cylinder column is numeric and its original values are numeric. So I'm not putting this into quotes. But here my type column originally is character. This value should be put into quotes. So when you see the result, see your type column is character. and cylinder is numeric. So it's selecting all the column values where type is wagon and cylinder is 4. So these are so many observations. So at observation number 427, this condition is true. So at observation 414, this condition is true. So when you check your log, so out of 428 rows, it's selecting 14 observations, which is true for this criteria. And what was your condition? You was using your macro variables. So your macro variables is representing or resolving to its values, which we have created with %let statement. Got it? Understand this log carefully. Understood, everyone?
Yes, Ashwini.
Okay, so should we move ahead on the slides?
Yes.
Anamika, Padma.
Yes.
Yes, Ashwini.
Okay. So this is what it's telling, efficiently changing the filter value. So you have various procs, and various procs are doing various activities for the same data, and the various reports are to subset the data to create a wagon report. So same code, you're writing it, but now the type value is SUV. So instead of doing the changes every time manually in the same program to change the values for subsetting of your type value, it's telling how can you easily replace this value everywhere in the program. So you make use of a macro. So it's telling you can create a macro variable where you can just change the value of your macro variable once, and that can be done only once and no need of writing it every time in your program. So what is it? It's telling a macro variable, a SAS macro variable stores text that is substituted in your code when it returns. It's like an automatic find and replace. Understood? Look at this. So it's like find for ampersand type and replace wherever the type is coming at. So that's what it's telling. So find in your program wherever this symbol ampersand type means the value is wagon. So wherever in your table type wagon comes, so this should be represent to wagon and it will select the value. Same goes with cylinder. Okay, that's what it is doing. So moving ahead, you create it on your its statement once, and you simply now represent this wagon with ampersand car type. So it's telling %let statement is to create a macro variable. So how is the syntax? %let, it's a statement. Okay. It is an independent statement. It's not written in any proc or data step at this point. %let macro variable, give a name which you want to give. Either you can give the same name as you have in the column, or you can give a different name and a value. End it with a semicolon. So it will create a macro variable named car type that stores the text value as wagon. And in your program, you represent it as ampersand car type. Now, because your type column is character, you put this into quotation marks. So use macro variable in place of value in the program. So wherever you had value earlier as hard coded, you represent this as ampersand car type. So ampersand macro, until and unless you do not write this ampersand sign, SAS will not understand it's a macro variable. If you omit this ampersand, it will treat this as a value which is available in your type column, and it may give you an error or warning. So it's better to represent this macro variable preceding with an ampersand sign, which is nothing but your and. Okay, and hence it will represent like this. So SAS replaces ampersand car type to wagon when program runs. Okay. Now, when you have the same program to be represented for SUV, you do only one change in your ampersand %let statement and represent this as it is. So no need of changing anywhere. So macro variables and their values are deleted when your session is end. So as we are creating this as a macro variable, it is saved in the memory. Once you end your session, this macro variable is been deleted from the memory. Okay, that's what it's trying to tell, and you have the same demonstration. Fine. So come to this demo D03, everyone. Demo lesson 3 D03. Yes. So try to work out first with this example which we saw on the slide, and then we can work on the next part. So first work out with the first, which is as per your slides. So people look into my screen now if you have done. So as per this, they are telling write a %let statement to create 3 macro variables: wind speed, basin code, date. Set the initial values of the variables as per the match from your program. So this were the original values in your program. So I've created this macro variables and I gave this name. And wherever those values were, I represent with the macro variable ampersand date. See, everywhere. So when I submit this, I see the result. So it's subsisting the data on basin, start date, and maximum wind. And same goes here. So did you finish writing this part?
Yes, Ashwin.
Okay. Anamika,
Yes.
Padma?
I said yes, Ashwin.
Okay.
Yes, Ashwin.
Okay. Fine. Now look at this fourth part. It's telling change the value for macro variable to the values that you select. Possible values for basin is NA, WP, and SI. Highlight the demo program and run the code. So it's telling change the values of macro variables to values that you select. So in case if you want to change the value that now you want the report to be generated for SP. So how many changes? Only one change. So do you will you go here and do the changes in your program? No. So simply execute this. Check whether you get the result for SP's basin code. Done. Okay, that's it. So if you want two values, so remember when you are writing two values in Basin code, this should be changed to in operator and put it into parenthesis. Okay, so how? Let's see. Let me show you. I write is SP and VP. Okay, let's check. Instead of equal to, I write in. Will it work? Let's check. No, this is not working. So at this point, you just work with single value at a time. Okay. This in detail, I'll show you when we come into macros. At this point, just work on this. And now instead of SP now, I want the report to be generated for North Indian Ocean code, ocean, which is my basin code. So I just execute this. So there is no data which is matching as per NI, North Indian, which is true for speed and basin code and date. Maybe you have for South Indian Ocean zone. Let's see. There is no condition true for wind speed and date for your South Indian basin code as well. Then let's work with West specific. So simply do one change and you get your output in your macro statement. Okay. So see, here also it's telling there is no data which is true for all these conditions. But fine, this is what we are doing it. All right. Done with macros.
Yes.
Great. So come to this activity. Now this activity A04, okay, check this for activity A04 because activity A03 we had done earlier. It's some name change, okay, that's it, one below the other. So come to activity A04, mismatch, okay. It's telling change the value in percent let statement from NA to SP, from NA to SP. Run the program and carefully read log. Which procedure did not produce a report? What is the different about where statement in the step? So here you have proc means with basin code and here you have proc fric. Okay, now check the code and execute the program. Yes, so you get the report only for proc means. You're not getting the report for proc fric. So check your log. In proc frequency, it's telling no observations been read. 0 observations. Now, what is the difference in the program? So it's working with proc means, but it's not working with proc fric. It's the same macro variable name you're writing. Your program itself answers my question. Why it's not working? If you have observed carefully, you'll come to know. Yes, people? Any guess? Anamika, Padma, Monica, Vikram.
Because in VAR, you didn't mention basin.
No, it's there. We are not subsetting in var, dear. We are subsetting with where. But with where in your proc fric, it's not working. It's because whenever we are using a macro variable and its value, the value, if it is character, it should always been given in double quotes. Here you are giving in single quotes. So macro variable will not resolve the value if you provide in single quotes. So it's always a best practice to resolve the values for macros, put it into double quotes. Fine. Now execute it. So see, with proc fric, you get the output. Understood, everyone?
Yes.
So whenever you are writing a macro variable value, which is a character to be subsetted, the value should always be put into double quotes. SAS will never resolve macro variables when you are writing into single quotation. At this point, only remember this. Fine, that is the reason why whenever I showed my program, I had that habit of showing the program where it is subsetting with double quotes. Now cylinder here was numeric, so it did not work, did not require quotation. Okay. So if you want, you can just work out with this code which I'm giving you in the chat box. Try this without double quotes, use single quote, and then give double quotes and work out. Done?
Yes, Ashwini is done, but it's showing error.
What error
It's
you are getting?
warning apparent symbolic reference type not resolved.
So you're writing type or was like check what is the macro variable name you have given types and you're writing type. So that will be not resolved. So here the macro variable name is types. What are you giving
Yes.
here? Check that. Done? Yes? Anamika, Padma, what's your status? You
Done,
people
Ashwini.
done?
Yep. Yep.
Understood?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So this was the last part of this topic with macros. Okay. So it's telling single quotation marks were used around the macro variable ampersand basin code rather than double quotation. That's why it did not resolve. So double quotation marks must be used around macro variables. That's it and an exercise. So I leave this exercise and some of the demo part for you as a self-study. Please revise this topic and we can meet on our next class starting with this topic called as formatting columns. All right. So with this note, we'll stop our day and thanks for attending this class. Take care. Good night. Bye.
Thank you, Ashwini.
Thank you, Ashwini.